Hi friends, very good evening and thank you for joining in. Could you please confirm in the chat window if I am visible and audible clearly so that we can get started with today's session by about 7 or 7:02 p.m. So can you please confirm that? Okay, I have the chat window here, so that should make life simpler. Since we have a few minutes, I'll take a couple of general questions and then as usual we'll have the Q&A at the very end of the session, right? So cool, good. Some of our mentors also have joined. Good. So everything is looking good, which is always nice. Okay, so let me take a few questions here. I think some of these are aliases. I can see them on my desktop. So somebody whose alias is Silent Cry says, I'm part of the CS blended GATE CS course. Good. When should I start solving test series, or should I solve chapter wise test series after completing a chapter? The process that we suggest is what is there in the order of the course. For example, if you take, let's say, theory of computation, after you finish a bunch of videos which includes concepts and solve problems, solve the practice test. Once you finish the whole subject, there are subject tests, take them. Once you finish multiple subjects, then go to the multi-subject tests that are there in the test series. Just follow that order and you're done. Okay, that's what we would recommend. Again, in your first iteration of preparation, try to finish the test series 2021 so that you can keep the test series 2022, which is another 2000 odd questions for your iteration 2 and iteration 3 once you finish all your subjects once. That's the recommendation that we are giving. Again, there is no one right answer to this. Everyone has their own strategy, but this is what we recommend. This is how we designed the whole structure itself. So very nice question. Recently, I also got this on my LinkedIn and other alumni forums that IISC was ranked as #1 research institute in the world. Again, it's ranked not overall #1, but it's ranked #1 in terms of citations per professor, because there might be smaller universities, there might be larger universities. If you compare with other world leader universities, IISc is a smaller university in terms of faculty and in terms of students. So again, citations, number of citations for a research paper is a good measure on how important that research paper was. So they have computed, or they have calculated, the QS rankings calculated the number of citations. Citation basically means if I write a research paper and if you cite that in your research paper, that counts as one citation. Okay, because this research paper that I've written is important, that someone else is citing that in their research paper. If it were not important, nobody would care. So they have counted the number of citations for research papers per faculty member. Think of it like a normalization by faculty members. On that metric, Indian Institute of Science was ranked #1, which is very good, right? Because IISc was started with an intention of doing fundamental research. That is its core. That's what its core territory is. And I'm happy to see that they're living up to that core philosophy of the reason for which it was started. Again, academics is still a smaller component. Research is the bigger component at the Indian Institute of Science. That's why a lot of departments, non-engineering departments, don't have a master's program. They have only PhD programs, right? Again, I'm very happy to see that. And it's a good metric because that's what IISc was started in the first place for. Cool. Okay, Aditya is asking about test series. We are in the final stages of finalizing it. We are hopeful that we will launch it in the coming week or the week after that, right? Second, third week. I mean, yeah, we are getting into the second week now. So mostly next week, worst case the week after that, we will announce it on our YouTube channel, right? The 2022 GATE test series. Second, third week is what we are planning. We're in the final stages. Any syllabus changes that we can expect for GATE CS 22? There is a small possibility of a syllabus change because GATE syllabus doesn't get changed every year. There might be minor changes, but major changes like the ones that we saw in 2021 are rare. They don't happen every now and then. So most likely there may be minor changes, maybe 1 or 2% change, but no like 5, 6 or 5 to 10% changes. Like we have seen roughly like a 5% change last year, right? Especially in compiler design, few topics removed from computer networks, few topics added in aptitude and things like that. We don't see such a significant change. Again, it's not a significant change, it's still a minor change. It's mostly about 5% change. We don't even see that every year. So most likely the possibility is low, but you can never rule it out. We will announce the scholarship test as soon as we have something ready. Again, while the pandemic has reduced in north of India, most of the colleges in north of India have also completed their semester end exams. The south of India, if you look at the map of India, the south of India still has some cases. So we are just waiting for everything to go through. At least most colleges, if not all the colleges, to finish their examinations, and then we will announce the scholarship test. Again, the scholarship test is open not just to new students but also course enrolled students as usual. Again, I think we have posted this video on our YouTube channel. We are looking to get the best experts from industry, the top experts who have actually built things, right? So somebody is asking about it. Our objective has always been that we should bring the best minds to teach, because what happens today, again, I've seen this even when I was working at Amazon, that some of the top researchers at top universities ended up joining these large companies because there is more scope to do fundamental research in companies now. But the disadvantage in that is there is less teaching, there is less teaching to the next generation of students, which is happening, unfortunately. So we thought we will create a channel through which, or a platform through which, the top industry experts can collaborate with us part-time or full-time and teach. I mean, they can do it part-time if they're not willing to quit their full-time jobs. But I think they have a lot of knowledge. They have a lot of fundamental knowledge and skills and real-world expertise, which we need to translate to students. That was the whole objective there. Good. Animesh has a very nice question. He says, after completing 2 to 3 subjects, should we take time out for revision? It's a must. Please, at the end of every week, at the end of every subject, at the end of completing every 2 to 3 subjects, please take some time. Even if it is 3-4 days, even if it is 4-5 days, that's okay. Take some time, revise all the subjects, solve some multi-subject tests. That is a great way to revise. If you don't do that, you will lose everything that you have studied in the early subjects like TOC and CD in no time. Okay. Oh, it's already 7:03. So let's get started, folks. Let's get started with today's live session. I promise you we'll spend some more time in Q&A at the very end. So can you just confirm if my screen is visible? Again, I'll see everything on my phone now. Can you please confirm if my screen is visible? We'll get started with the problems. As soon as we are done with this, I'll again get back to general Q&A. Can you please confirm if you can see my screen? Okay, cool. Very good. Let's get started. Quick overview. Today is the first live session of C programming. The topics are very basic, like the basics of C programming, operators, expressions, control statements and functions. These are very basics because we still don't have concepts like pointers, which is the most important and most interesting topic in C programming as far as gate is concerned. So these topics are very easy to score. That's why you'll see a lot of simple questions. I think there is only one tricky question today. Most others are simple. But in the next live session, we will encounter more and more tricky questions in C programming. I think we have a total of 3 or 4 live sessions for C programming. This is just like a warm-up, right? So you might see some of these questions to be easy or very easy. These are typically your 1-mark questions. That's because we have limited syllabus and we can't give you a pointer question when the syllabus doesn't have that, right? And you'll see a lot of pointer related stuff in the actual gate question paper. One other quick notification is for C data structures and algorithms. Again, we have moved C data structures and algorithms up front, or we are covering them early as compared to what we typically do, because students have reached out to us and they have told that they have placements after the summer vacation. So they wanted to finish C data structures algorithms to better prepare for placements also. So to benefit everyone, not just our course enrolled students, but everyone, for C programming, data structures and algorithms, all the live sessions, again, we have 2 per week in general, right? On Fridays and Tuesdays, right? On Tuesdays and Fridays. All the live sessions for C, DS and Algo are publicly available. We will do all of them on YouTube itself. Again, we have, so if you just go to our Excel sheet, which is pinned at the top of our chat window, this is the schedule for C. So we have 4 live sessions for C. All of them are publicly available. And again, we have for data structures and algorithms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions. Okay. Oh, sorry, 6, 7 sessions. Okay. There is one more session here. Oh, there is one more session for placement and interviews. So till 16th of July, we'll have all live sessions, weekly 2 live sessions, 1.5 hours each, publicly available for everyone. This will primarily focus on C, data structures, algorithms in the context of gate preparation, so that it will also help you in your placements. But we'll do one dedicated session on 16th of July, primarily for placements and interviews that you might encounter as soon as your colleges start. Okay, I hope this is helpful. And let's get started with today's session. Again, while we are solving these questions, please focus on solving them. I promise you that we will have general Q&A at the end, just like every other live session. Okay, so let's focus on solving. I will not be able to answer your general questions. Cool. Here comes the first question. Simple questions. We are starting with simple ones. Again, I'm seeing all of your answers in the chat window. As soon as you solve your question, please provide your answer in the chat window so that I can guide you, correct you. I'll solve the whole problem as usual. Again, some of you who are choosing an answer because some of these questions are simple, can you also give a reasoning on why? Can you also give a reasoning on why? That will be fun, right? Because remember, we have already studied compiler design, right? So can you think of, oh, we have also studied DLD, right? How numbers are actually represented in a computer. Right, we have done already D also. We have also done DLD. Can some of you provide a reasoning for this? Can you give me a more fundamental reasoning why some data types are not allowed? Again, some of you got it right, some of you got it slightly wrong. Can you give a reasoning also? That will be fun. Okay, some of you got a good reasoning, some of you got an incorrect reasoning. Anyway, I will explain that. I think most of you put your answers. Okay, so char is allowed basically in switch statements, whether you are using C, C++, I think also in Java, if I recall, it's been a while I wrote Java code myself, but I think also in Java, all integer-like data types are okay. So char is an integer-like data type internally, right? So char is allowed, but the question, what does the question say? The question says, which of the following data types cannot be used? Char can be used. Char can be used, so it can't be the answer. Int can be used in switch case in C. So int can't be the answer. Float cannot be used. So C is the right answer. Long also can be used. So in a nutshell, anything which is of integer type, which is stored as an integer. Again, long is basically an integer internally. It's just that it can store longer integers. But at the end of the day, it is still just an integer internally, right? Float cannot be stored. Again, this is true even in Java. I think in Java there is a Boolean data type which is also not allowed, if I recall well. Again, let's not go into Java and get diverted, but in general, most programming languages like C, C++, Java don't allow float in your switch because the way float is internally stored, if you have ever tried to print floating point values, if you have a floating point value of 3.0, right, 3.000, sometimes this is also printed as 2.9999. Right, again depending on the mathematical operations you perform. So sometimes this can also be stored as 3.00001, like lots of nines or lots of zeros followed by 1. So there is actually a imprecise, there is basically a precision problem. Some of you mentioned that in the chat window. There is a problem with precision with respect to floating point and double values, right? So hence, comparing these two is a little tricky, because would we say 2.9999 is equal to 3? Would you say 3.00001 is equal to 3? No. That's why I think even in C#, if I recall well, because I used it very briefly. So C, C++, Java, C#, all these languages don't allow comparison of floating point numbers. You can't do expressions which will result, or which will use floating point or double precision numbers as part of the switch case. Char, int and long are allowed. Okay, I hope this is clear. Okay, so this is cool. This is cool, right? So I hope everybody got it. Again, this reasoning is very interesting. Just one more small addition, if I may. I'm sorry for getting diverted, but since we have time, I thought I'll go through. There is also a Boolean data type in Java which is not allowed in switch case. If I recall, 99%, I think I'm right. But the reasoning behind is, if you have a Boolean variable, you can have if-else, no? If-else fits into the Boolean framework, because Boolean is either true or false. You don't have explicitly Boolean data type in C, right? So that's why Boolean is not allowed in Java, if I recall well. But certainly even in Java, I remember floating point, single precision or double precision are not allowed. Okay. Sujit says, please don't waste time on easy questions. I don't think this is an easy question. If I were an interviewer, and if you say for floating point values you can't do it, I'll ask you why. If you cannot know it, that means you have just remembered some C syntax by heart. You don't actually know what is happening. Okay, so why is a very interesting question here, not just from the gate context, but from the interview context, because we are also trying to do some of these from the interview context so as to help you. Number one, again, the topics that we have are very simple. We are not doing whole of, we are not doing whole of C. If we have whole of C, then we can give you questions that 99% of students can't answer. Here we are limited, and hence we are doing easy questions. I hope you understand. Cool. Sounds good. The why was the interesting question. Here is another question for you. Again, please think about it. While this is an easy question, it's slightly tricky. Here you have to understand some very fundamental things about how C programming works internally. I see almost all the 4 options in the chat window. Oh, I thought most of you will answer this. Wow, I'm surprised. I'm thoroughly surprised. I thought everybody would get this answer. Actually, our mentors actually said that this is an easy question, but now I would say it's easy tricky, given that so many of you are making errors with this. I'm surprised. Good. Please recheck your answers. I'm giving you some more time. Think about it carefully. Take some more time. I'm seeing a lot of you are making mistakes here. You have to understand how something like a comma operator works internally in the C programming language. If you know that, this answer is easy. If you don't know it, you will get it wrong. Okay, I'm hoping everybody thought through this. Anyway, let's solve this. Again, it's an easy question, slightly tricky. So some of you may say this is compilation error because you can't have this sort of statement, or you can't have this sort of statement, right? Some of you may say this is error. No, it's not. Because if you have a statement like this, I less than 5, j less than 10, right? Again, you can have any statement that evaluates to the Boolean values, right? Or to which evaluates to an integer, because in C programming, all Booleans are internally represented as integers, right? So what happens, again, the interesting part, okay, let's go step by step. ij just initialized. So this will initially run at initialization the moment you go into the first time of the loop. So you have I equals to 0, j equals to 0, right? Simple. Then you increment I, you increment j. Now here is where a lot of confusion is. Some of you rightly pointed out in the chat window that when you have a statement like this, so look at this, you have a comma operator here. So this is basically, this will result in one Boolean value, this will result in another Boolean or integer value. Okay, I keep using the word Boolean because I think of it as logical true or false, because I write mostly code in Python. But logically speaking, this will result in true or false, this will result in true or false. The way the comma operator works is, whatever is the second statement, its true or false value is what will be taken into consideration, not the first one. That's how the C programming language is defined internally. Okay, so the j less than 10, the truth or the falseness of this statement is what will be taken. Right? It doesn't matter what this is. It doesn't matter. Again, you can write this code on any online editor or your GCC and check it. Right? So if you look at this, so it doesn't matter what this is. It really wouldn't matter for us. Only thing that matters is this. So what is happening here is your I is getting incremented and j is getting incremented. Again, this whole loop, within this loop, your I and j are basically getting incremented till the time j becomes 10. So by the time j becomes 10, then this would become false and you would come out of this loop. But by the time j becomes 10, I also becomes 10, because I and j, both of them are getting incremented as part of this loop. Finally, we are just printing I and j. So it will print 10, 10. Very simple. So the only trick here is that within this part of within the initialization and within the condition check part of the for loop, you can have complex statements like this, which are perfectly all right to have comma separated statements. And when we have a comma separated statement, the Boolean value of the last expression is what will be taken into consideration. Okay, I hope again, this is a simple question if you knew this fact, right? So very simple, very straightforward. I think I'm very happy to see most of you got it right, especially those who have taken time and thought through about it. Those of you who were in a hurry or who didn't know about how the comma operator and the Boolean resultant value matters got it wrong, right? So again, please understand, those of you who were in a hurry to give an answer, I saw a lot of people saying A or B at the starting. Those are wrong answers. So take time, it's okay. It is important to get the right answer at this point. Speed you will build eventually by the time of the examination. Cool. So let's go to the next question here. Again, a simple question. This video will be available on YouTube even after the session is over, so you can always watch the explanation afterwards also. Those of you who are asking slight variations of the question, you can type this on your GCC compiler, write it in your code editor and compile it. You'll see the results. That's the best way to experiment and learn. Again, just for the benefit of everyone, this is an easy question. This is a very basic question actually. Again, we are limited by the topics. That's why we are giving easy questions. Next week we have pointers. Please be prepared thoroughly. That will be one interesting session because I will also come very well prepared. Good. Most of you got it right. Most of you. I think almost 95% plus people got it right. Okay, let me explain this. It's a simple question, right? C is the answer. And why is C the answer? Let's go step by step. Again, if you did not have this line, imagine if this line wasn't there, you would get a compile time error because the main function doesn't know what is the signature of the fun function. Okay, so that's a small trick that you could trap that you could fall into sometimes. Okay, so this is there. So main function knows the signature or knows what are the return types and what are the parameters of the fun function. Okay, so you're calling fun the first time. So a is a local variable, right, for this function. So a equals to 10 and you're printing. So you print 10, right? So okay, so you print 10, simple. Actually, there is this comma should not be there because there should be a comma here. Okay, sorry, because these commas won't get printed otherwise. Okay, there will only be a space that will be printed. Okay, sorry for that small typo here. So 10, you'll print a comma and then static int b, right? So b is 11, b is incremented, you're printing b. So you get 12, right? Then the function returns back. So again, you come here, again you start. Since a is a local variable, it will get reinitialized to 10, right? You'll again print it, you'll get again 10, but because b is a static, remember this is a static variable, it will only get initialized the first time this function was called. So b is already, look at this, b is already 12. That's what we printed a while ago, right? So initialization of it will not happen again because it only gets initialized the first time. So this line will not matter now. Only this line will matter. So b equals to b plus 1. So b will be 13 and b will be printed. Simple. So C is the right answer. Most of you got it right. This is all about simple static variables in a function. Okay, very simple stuff. Cool. That's why I said this is easy, literally like 1 mark giveaway question. Cool. So let's go here now. Again, some of these questions are easy because of the limited syllabus. I think the 5th question is a little tricky, but otherwise most others are easy. Hey Sujit, I'm not at all hurt. I just wanted to give you an explanation, man. No bad feelings, come on. Come on, why should we have any bad feeling? We want students to succeed, that's all. But I get the point that some of these questions are easy. No bad feelings. I just wanted to give you an explanation. No bad feelings, man. Again, it's my obligation to give you a justification why we have easy questions, no? Okay, let's see. What are people saying for this? This is a simple nested loop. This is like a typical 1 mark question. Again, almost a giveaway question. Okay, so most of you got it right. So let me quickly go into it so that we can finish the 5 questions and do more interesting Q&A, right? Okay, cool. So, okay, what does this say? So I is initialized to 0, j is to 0, okay? While I less than 5, j is initialized to 0, while j is less than 5. So my I equals to 0, and within this, I have my j equals to 0, while j is less than 5, okay? Oh, this condition is I. So if I is greater than 1, I is not greater than 1, so this break won't execute. J will keep getting incremented, right? So j is initially 0, we will print hello world once. Then j will keep getting incremented because we have j less than 5, it will get printed 5 times, right? So hello world will get printed 5 times. Okay. So when I equals to 0, j goes from 1 to 4. When j becomes equal to 5, it will come out. So literally what's happening here is it is printing 5 times. Okay, now what happens? You have I++ here. Again, it's important, it's just a quick dry run. Right? Because there is I++ within this loop, so I becomes 1. Now what happens? J is again initialized to 0, and while j is less than 5, which it is true, if I is greater than equal to 1, break. Oh, I is equal to 1, so this will break without printing anything. It will just come out of that loop. Again, I will get incremented, so I will become 2. Again, I is again greater than equal to 1, so it will keep breaking. So this loop will continue till the time I equals to 5, but no printing will happen. So you'll print hello world only 5 times. Very simple logic. Again, very easy question, typically like a 1 mark question in GATE. Okay. Now comes a slightly more interesting question where some of you might make mistakes. Cool. This is a numerical answer type. So you have to tell me what is the resultant answer, what that you'll get in this print statement. It's a numerical answer type. Again, please take time. Don't be in a hurry. This is a typical GATE type question that you will encounter. Okay. Again, there are no pointers here. If you had pointers, it would be more fun. You'll see that in the next live session. I see a lot of variability in questions. Lot of variability in answers. I'm sorry. The question is the same. I see a lot of mistakes also. So please rethink about it. This is a very typical GATE type question. Again, a question like this could be made slightly more interesting with pointers to arrays, array of pointers and things like that. That we will see next week. In the next live session on the coming Tuesday. Please take time and revise your answer. I see a lot of incorrect answers. Please revise your answers. Only a small percentage of you are getting it right. This is like a typical 1 mark in GATE. This is very common format. If this was made slightly more complex with arrays and pointers, that could be a 2 mark question. Thankfully, there are no negative marks with NATs, so you will not lose anything. Okay, so let's solve this, right? This is all about the precedence and associativity of operators. If you know this, this problem is straightforward. You have R equals to 4. Let me write this expression. R plus equals to R into R, left shift 3 plus 5. Now look at all the operators that we have and just recall the precedence and associativity. Again, associativity is not that important in this case. It's the precedence that's important. Look at this. Multiplication has a higher precedence amongst all these operators. First is multiplication, followed by addition. Addition has the second highest precedence of operators amongst these operators. Right? I'm only talking about this. Then you have the shift operator. After this, you have the final thing is the assignment operator. Assignment operator has a lower precedence than everything else. Now, given this precedence, again, this is the highest precedence and this has the lowest precedence. Now plug in values. Now R equals to 4. So first 4 into 4 will happen because star has the highest precedence. 4 into 4, 4 4s are 16. Then plus, right, which means this plus will happen. So this will be 8. You have 16, left shift 8. Now this is one place where you can be slightly careful. Again, if you know the logic, if you have studied Boolean algebra and concepts like that in digital logic design, this is straightforward. What is 16? 16 is 2 power 4 and you're left shifting by 8 bits. Right? So 2 power 4, if you left shift by 8 bits, what will you get there if you think about it? What you'll get is basically 2 power 12. right? That's what will happen, right? And what is 2 power 12? 2 power 10 is 1024. 2 power 2 is 4. So this is 4096, right? So what you have here, now this whole expression now is 4096. So R plus equals to 4096. R is 4. So 4096 plus 4 is 4100. That's it. That's the answer, right? Very simple logic here, right? Very simple and straightforward. Somebody is saying in the previous question there is a, sorry, that it print 4 times. Why? I don't see why it should print 4 times. Anyway, let's just copy it. Again, whenever you have a question like this, right, this is what I would recommend. I have this very, like, I stopped using GCC for small stuff like this. So there is this very nice tool called Online GDB. I think we've also showcased some of this in our course videos, right? So just take it, paste it here and run it. Let's see what happens. It might, okay, language is C, obviously. Okay, we don't want C++. Let's see what's happening. Just to be sure. I could have made a mistake, or many of us could have made a mistake. Let's just see what happens. Again, I strongly recommend whenever you're playing around with any code like this, this is like fun to do. Fatal error, resource temporarily unavailable. Okay, I think there is some problem with their 5 times, right? Look at this. It prints 5 times as expected. Now there is one more question that some of you have asked. So let me entertain a few interesting ideas. So let's take this, right? Let's change it slightly. Okay, so 5 times, I hope you're convinced, right? Again, this is like online GCC, right? You can use multiple languages, but this is fun. Okay, so let's look at this code. Now look at this. If you execute it, actually, I think if I'm okay, what has happened here? Is there an error somewhere? Include stdio. Okay, sorry. Okay, hash include stdio.h. I've not written much of C code personally. I've written some C++. Look at this 1010. Now you might say, hey, what happens? Okay, let me just zoom this in. What happens if I change this? I less than 10. Somebody asked this question in the chat window. J less than 5. Okay, can you guess what happens now? Again, just keep the guess and see what happens. You get 5,5. Right? Very simple. Similarly, somebody asked another very interesting question, which was, I think, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so let's say int I equals to, let's just see this, right? Suppose if I have a complex expression on the RHS, right? Let's say suppose I have an expression like this, 10 less than 5, 10 less than 20, and 10 less than 5. What if there are 3 expressions with commas? There are 3 Boolean like expressions here. It always takes the last one. So now you can say, what happens if we have printf %d I, right? Yeah. So what happens now? Int main stdio. Okay, just execute this. Sorry, did I mess up something? Int I equals to expect. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's just put this here because it's not expecting 1. We can just put something like this just to say that this whole thing is, it's giving 0. Why is it giving 0? Because it used the last statement. Suppose if I just change this last statement here, it's basically giving false. If you look at it from a Boolean perspective, I is basically false or 0. So if I give 10 less than 50, it gives me 1. Look at the result here, right? Again, if you have GCC or any other any other like standard C compiler on your computer, use it. I've not used C personally for my projects and work. I've mostly used Python, a little bit of C++. So again, this is a cool way to test some of the stuff that we just discussed, right? Play around. Like, I think even the code that we explained in the course videos, we use this online GDB. It's free. Just choose C, C++, whatever language you want and play around. It's fun to do it. Cool. Just let me start sharing. Okay, just give me a second. I'll open up the, okay, given that we have answered again, next week, let me just check it. What is the syllabus for next week? Next week is pointers and array of pointers. We have a complete dedicated problem solving for pointers and array of pointers. So please come prepared. That's a topic where I have made silly mistakes in the past. And I know a lot of students mess up pointers and array of pointers. So please prepare that thoroughly so that we have fun time in the next live session. Cool. Okay, so let me just pick up my phone and look at your comments. Okay, I'm just scrolling down. Ayush, I get your point. Actually, today we could have easily done 8 questions. We are typically doing 5 questions because if you see our previous live sessions, by the time we finish the 5 live sessions, it's already 8 p.m. So we wanted to do a 1-hour session typically with some Q&A. Today, it's so easy that we finish it in 35 minutes. But again, we will try and initially we were doing 2-hour live sessions, but then students were getting exhausted. So a lot of them reached out to us and said, hey, can we do 2 1-hour or 2 1.5-hour sessions? That's why we have changed it to twice a week with 1.5 hours, 1.5 hours. Next week, I think there will be more interesting problems, more challenging ones. If we think the problems are easy that we can finish early, we'll increase the number of problems to 8. Okay, from next time we'll do that. Thank you for the suggestion. Yeah, so we will. So the plan here is to add sufficient questions for a 1-hour session of problem solving, followed by Q&A. Right. So I'm open for Q&A. I'll tackle as many questions as we can. We have some time at our hand, so I'll try to answer as many as possible. Again, the questions related to test series and scholarship test, I've already answered at the very beginning. So in the interest of everyone who has been there for a while, I'll skip those questions. So how to learn C easily? I mean, the way at least I or most of our mentors have learned is by writing code. There is no escaping that fact. Again, to be honest with you, I really learned about the internals of C only when I learned compiler design. In the first year of BTech, second year of BTech, we can write C code, we can write recursions, we can use data structures, etc. But at least I did not understand the internals on why something is happening like this. Till the time I actually understood lexical analysis, parsing, till the time code optimization and things like that, till the time I didn't understand the compiler design, I could not understand C very well. Since you're preparing for GATE, I'm assuming you will study or you have studied compiler design. In our series of subjects, we already completed compiler design in terms of live sessions. So if you know how a compiler works, understanding the internals of C, you'll get much richer understanding of how C itself works. Okay, cool. So this is by Gitit, who says, how many hours to put if I'm starting in July? So most students, a vast number of students actually start their preparation around July because that's when the next semester typically starts. That's when people get serious about it. And we've seen a lot of toppers who have even started in August and September last year. So it's not when you start, but if you ask us about the amount of effort that you should put in, I think if you're putting in 3 hours, I'm talking about an average student, if they put in about 3.5 hours on regular basis for 6 months, I think they can comfortably finish most of what is required for GATE, right? Again, if you're slightly below average, you might have to spend more time. Our recommendation is try to spend some time early in the morning when you're fresh, spend some time in the evening. Throughout the day, whatever you have learned, try to revise it whenever you get some short breaks, either with your college work or with your office work. That's what we would recommend. Alpan says, having completed almost the whole syllabus, how many marks in the test series should I consider as safe? Again, Alpan, given that probably you're repeating your GATE preparation, that's why you completed everything. Again, at this point of time, because if you're repeating GATE the second time or the third time, if you're scoring, if you've completed one iteration, right? I'm assuming you're comfortable, you've solved lots of problems once, at least once. Then we would say if you're in the 50 to 60 range, you're in decent shape because we still have a few months where you can push that 50 to 60 number to like 50% marks. If you're getting, you're in decent shape because then you can push it to almost 70 plus going forward in the next few months. Okay. Again, pushing from 70 up becomes harder and harder. Like getting to 90 is very, very hard. I think only a handful of people can reach 90 in actual GATE exam also. Right? Cool. So this is by Sam, who says, I'm solving some previous year questions from 1990 to 2005, and I think some of the concepts were not covered by him, by Sam himself. Should I leave them? Again, the syllabus itself has evolved a lot from the early 2000s and late 90s. If there is something that you think is very different from the current syllabus, just skip that. Again, instead of doing questions from 1990 to 2005, we would recommend you start from 2021 and go backwards. That is better. Again, there might be some concepts and syllabus even like 3-4 years back, which may not be there in GATE. This, as of now, to the best of our knowledge. We don't yet have the 2022 syllabus, but most likely some topics in computer networks were removed, right? So it's better to not start from 1990 and come forward. It's better to start from 2021 and go backwards. Okay. Cool. Hey, I really like DK's point. I can't stop laughing at it. So DK is answering a question from B2 who says, I don't like making short notes. I really love your answer, DK. I love your analogy. So what you're literally saying here is, think of making your short notes as your final preparation before the examination, right? Just before the examination, you'll make that scribble notes, right? Think of writing short notes like that. Again, the way I make my short notes, I'll tell you, it might help some of you, is if I'm watching a video or if I'm reading a research paper, I have my notebook next to me. I take most of my notes digitally. So I keep writing whatever I think is important. I read mostly research papers in machine learning and other areas. I also read standard textbooks sometimes. I just make all the quick points. Again, it's like me doing something when I'm in a classroom. Let's say my professor is teaching me. I don't pause the video and write it. I scribble down whatever comes to my mind, whatever I think is important. I don't pause the video. I don't pause my flow of reading, right? I just go with the flow. If I'm reading, let's say 5 lines per few seconds, I just continue reading at the pace. I just quickly take a pause and keep writing it down. So it's more like a scribble notes rather than a detailed, elaborate, beautiful, elegant notes. So think of yourself making short notes before the examination. That's something like your semester end exams or any exams. That's a great model for you to work on. So as far as syllabus for scholarship test itself is concerned, we have not yet announced it. As soon as we announce the date for the scholarship test, we'll also announce the syllabus. All of the syllabus for the scholarship test will be publicly available for everyone. All the videos corresponding to that syllabus will be available. You'll be given sufficient time to go through the videos. We'll also give you some practice problems. And so because we want to create an even platform to everyone. We don't want either course enrolled students or non-enrolled students to have any advantage. That's why we are making all these videos freely available for the scholarship test. That's what we have done for the last 2 years also, and we'll continue to do that. So Sujit says, I am unable to manage my GATE prep and my campus placement prep. Can you give me some tips? Sujit, exactly for this specific reason, we have moved C data structures algorithms ahead. Remember, the fundamentals of programming data structures algorithms that you're learning for GATE are also helpful for your placement prep. So our recommendation now, especially if you have, let's say, placement in the next 2 months or so, just after your semester break or summer break. I think a lot of universities are giving some summer break right now because some of their exams got delayed because of the second wave of COVID. So in the next 2 months or so, my strongest recommendation, again, this is what most of our mentors also would say, is try to finish your C data structures algorithms, translate all of that into code, solve coding problems, maybe 50%, because it's vacation time for you, right? You can easily finish C data structures algorithms, spend 3-4 hours every day. You do your GATE prep, it will improve your problem solving skills, it will improve your conceptual clarity. Spend 3-4 hours writing code, solve coding problems. That's all you need to do. And you can easily manage it, right? It's a break time, folks. Like your college is typically 8 hours, right? Do 4 hours of data structures algorithms for GATE, 4 hours of coding for placement prep. You're done. It's as simple as that. So somebody says, can I enroll only in the test series? Yes. Just like every other year, we will have the facility for students to enroll only in the test series exclusively if you want that. We'll always have that. Somebody is saying, I think Prince is saying, is there any college in India which has quantum computing as a course curriculum? Prince, to the best of my knowledge, Indian Institute of Science has a dedicated research center for quantum computing. I've been to that research center once. I don't know if there is, if CS folks work in it. To the best of my knowledge, it was always physics and electronics folks that worked in it. But if you're talking about quantum computing, not the quantum hardware components of it, Then there are a lot of universities. I think almost every major IIT and IISC, universities like TFR, etc., they have quantum computing. Quantum computing is still theoretical right now because, again, except for a few places like D-Wave and Google and folks like that, who have a small scale, even IBM, who have a small scale quantum computer, right? So theoretically, you can learn all of it. It just instead of having a standard John von Neumann machine, you have a quantum computer which has all of the complexities of quantum mechanics inbuilt into it. So quantum algorithms you can learn. I think almost every major IIT has somebody who is researching in quantum algorithms. But quantum computing hardware part itself, I don't know about other IITs, but IISc surely has a dedicated research center for actual, like physical experiments. Very interesting question from Otten. What are the odds that an IISc professor is watching this thinking that your question is a nice question for GATE 2022? Very, very low, because I think they have more important stuff to do. They have graduate students to mentor, they have PhD students to mentor. For them, creating GATE questions, because I have some of my friends as professors at IITs right now, a lot of my colleagues in the past who have joined IITs and other top universities of the world as faculty member, they're busy publishing their research work, they're busy mentoring their PhDs. For them, creating questions for GATE is fairly cakewalk, and they don't want to waste time on this. I'm sure of it. So, okay, let me just pick a random question. So, is C programming good to prepare for product-based companies? Good question, Mallikarjun. So, C is surely one of the, like when I interviewed at Yahoo Labs, I said, I don't know any other, I'm not comfortable with any other programming language except C. So in the coding rounds that they gave me, I actually wrote code in C. I implemented a linked list from scratch. I didn't use STL or anything fancy. But most companies would prefer, I mean, they might be okay if you write code in C as long as you start implementing all the data structures from scratch. It's perfectly all right. But they would prefer if you know an object-oriented programming language. So C++ is a good option. Python is also a very good option. Java is another option. So while you can certainly write code, most top product-based companies are agnostic to the language because they know that if you're a good programmer, if you know data structures, algorithms, you can pick any of the modern programming languages in no time, right? C, you can do it, but it's not the most preferred language. All the finance companies prefer C++, all the core tech companies prefer Java or Python. So Animesh says, should I consider standard books along with this course? If you have time, we strongly recommend you pick the standard, like classic textbooks and read accordingly. If you have time, if you don't have time, you can skip it because for every course, for every subject, we have picked the top textbooks, taken the best ideas from web resources, from top professors who have taught these courses before us and consolidated all of that knowledge into our course. If you have time, it's always great to read standard textbooks. Nothing beats that. Because that's what I did when I was an undergrad student. So this is a nice question from Anamika who says, how to study for longer hours? It's a very nice question. So don't think of studying for longer hours. Try to have focused, high energy, high throughput learning. So there is this lot of psychological research which says, okay, so the curve typically looks like this. So you start your preparation, okay, your full energy. Your attention is 100%, you're able to grasp everything. Slowly, it will start tapering off. It will actually fall down significantly after 90 minutes. That's why most classes in most universities are not beyond 90 minutes. For the first 60 to 70 minutes, they have the actual class. Then there is a typical Q&A. They don't do it more than 90 minutes because most students' attention span is no more than 90 minutes. So our suggestion is as follows. I think there's a video also on our YouTube channel on how to prepare and how to manage your time efficiently for GATE prep. Prepare in 60-minute chunks. 60 minutes, no phone unless it's an emergency. 60 minutes, tell yourself, this is what I will finish. If as soon as you finish that 60 minutes, take a break. Do something that you like, cup of coffee, cool breeze. It's anyway monsoon season. Anyway, monsoon is hitting us. Stand in your balcony or step outside. Take all precautions and just get a cool breeze of air. Talk to your friend, talk to your family, whatever keeps you fully energetic. 10 minutes, you can be back. Again, once you do this for 2 to 3 hours, you'll get exhausted. Take a longer break. have a hot water bath if it's cold where you're living, or a cold water bath if it is hot. These are all standard strategies that will keep you refreshed. The most important thing is to avoid social media. I mean, that is the biggest distractor in the world. Even to me, that's why I try to minimize it as much as possible. I check, like even my LinkedIn, I check it once a few weeks, right? So that's what we would recommend. Ayush has a very nice question. So people who are giving the GATE exam the second time or third time would have completed all the subjects while I am lagging behind. And am I not at a disadvantage? Not at all. By your argument, Ayush, all the toppers in GATE should be the repeaters. What happens very often is people don't prepare properly the first time, even the second time. We have seen that because they just go through the syllabus without solving sufficient problems or without building the problem solving skill. That is the most important thing. It doesn't matter how early you have finished. We have had toppers who finished their whole GATE syllabus in only Jan. When I wrote my GATE in my third year, there were like a couple of subjects which I could not even touch because I've never studied those subjects. But still, whatever I have covered it thoroughly. I've built my problem solving skills. I've solved as many questions as possible. That is what will matter at the end of the day, not how quickly you finished the subjects. Nobody is going to give you extra brownie points for finishing your syllabus early, right? So what matters is the rigor of your preparation, especially on the problem solving, on building the problem solving skills. Of course, the foundations are important. Without that, you can't solve problems anyway. But assuming that everybody is learning the foundations similarly, it is a problem solving skills that you build through the struggle that is more important. So Prashant, to answer your question on the chat window, I think you need to put all these comma separated values in a parenthesis. I think that's the reason why it's little messed up there. Again, it could be just a specific GCC implementation bug. It could be. Okay. So Pratyusha has a nice question. Do IIT B, IISC offer international packages to students after MTech? There are a few international companies that do come for placements, but they're only a minuscule part of the placements at any of the top IITs. And they're extremely competitive. But my suggestion is, if you're actually looking for an international offer, you can always get into Amazons and Googles and other companies of the world in India, and you can easily move to these locations very easily. Like I know at Amazon, if you're a good performer, I've seen a lot of my teammates, a lot of people who worked in my team move to other teams across the world very easily, very, very easily. Same with Google. A lot of my friends who joined Google have moved to Mountain View, some of them to Seattle and other places. So don't worry just about what you're getting right out of the campus, because in the long run that doesn't matter. That's only a minuscule part. There might be only 10 people who are getting Microsoft Redmond or Facebook Menlo Park. They're a very minuscule part. But look at like you're going to be software engineers for probably for 40-50 years, right? In the larger system, if you want to move abroad, either to Europe or US, it's straightforward if you have the right skills. So look at your career. Again, a lot of people think about that first thing. After MTech, where am I going? Don't worry so much. I know people who have not gone to the best of product-based companies. I have a friend of mine. Okay, I don't want to take his name. He's a few years junior to me from IISC. He's a very smart guy, but in campus placement, something went wrong. He couldn't perform well. He ended up joining not the best product-based company, not your Google, not your FANG basically, but still a good company. Okay, it's a good company, but not the best of companies. Okay, it's the next rung of companies. He worked there for a year. He prepared hard. He just refreshed his concepts. He learned how to crack interviews, because interview cracking is slightly different from what you you need to prepare for interviews, unfortunately. Most of the cases. So for 1 year, he worked very hard in the company. He fell in love with a girl whom he got married there. Both of them prepared very hard. One of them works at Facebook in Menlo Park. The other works at Google in Mountain View. Right? So it's very easy to make that. Don't look at your career just as soon as you step out of your MTech program. Look at it in the horizon of 40-50 years after your masters. Right? So don't worry about it. Okay. Again, somebody is asking questions about how much preparation. It is not just the volume of questions that matters. Very, very importantly, it is the rigor with which you solve questions. That is very, very important. You solve a question. Again, we discuss about all of this in our how to prepare best for GATE to get 55 plus marks. Those videos are on our channel. Please check them out. Try to debug your mistake. Try to learn. Build the problem solving ability. If you have the problem solving ability, even if you solve 500 problems, right, that's enough to get into crack. To crack GATE and get into top universities. You don't have to solve 10,000, 20,000 questions. And if you're not building the problem solving ability, it doesn't matter whether you solve 10,000 questions or 100,000 questions, you will not get it. Okay. Cool. Which PSUs recruited through GRADE 2021 and will they recruit through 2022? Nice question, Anmol. Some of our students have been attending the PSUs. Not every PSU hires every year. So it depends on the year. We are trying to get some of these folks, we are trying to talk to some of these folks and get more pointers from them. We'll share them as soon as we have learned how some of the PSUs, again, we had some PSUs, we have seen some PSUs that were not there last year that are there this year. I think like Bharat Electronics Limited, etc. So we will find out more about it because the notifications for these PSUs keep coming out on and off, right? Again, some years ONGC or one of these people might say, hey, we will hire CS folks. Other years they might say, no, I don't care about it. So it's haphazard. It's not always like these many seats every year, not necessarily. Okay, so this is a good question. Does age matter while sitting in placements at IIT, IISC? Not so much. It's the skills that will matter far more than age. Nobody cares about your age as long as you have the right skills. So Chetan says, a very nice question. Who earns more in the long run? An average software developer or a research guy? Okay, let me answer that very carefully. I've had software engineers work with me in my team who have grown phenomenally well. They're they're part of core AWS teams that build like crazy good functionality. They have grown phenomenally well because these are good engineers. So in the long run, if you're a good engineer versus a good researcher, most likely you'll make roughly the same money. What matters is, are you really that good an engineer? Can you, like for example, can you architect a whole AWS system from scratch? Can you architect a complex distributed system with low latency requirements? Can you design a whole database system from scratch? I'm saying, can you build something like MySQL from scratch? Right? Not use a database or design. Design doesn't mean just normalization, right? So at the end of the day, if you're an average research guy, it doesn't matter. If you're an average software developer, it won't matter. The best in both of them are phenomenal. Actually, the best of the best I've seen are phenomenal researchers who are also great software developers. That is a rarity. I've hardly seen a handful of people in my own career who are like brilliant software developers and brilliant researchers. Those are extremely rare. And those are the best actually, if I have to tell you. Som says, I'm finding it very difficult to revise theory and it's taking me 2 to 3 days to revise a chapter. Som, why are you taking so much time? Assuming you're putting in something like 3 hours a day, you're saying you're spending almost 6 to 9 hours to revise one chapter. That's a lot of time, right? Again, if you don't have time, just take the notes that we have given you, get it printed out or use it on a digital form. Just go through it. Go through all the concepts. Revision should not take more than just a few hours for the whole subject. Okay. Or just highlight it, make short notes. I don't know why it's taking so much time for you. I'm still surprised. So, okay, somebody saying minimum rank to join good IITs. I think if you get in the top 500 ranks, top 300, you'll surely get good IITs. Top 500 also, you'll get some of the good IITs and triple ITs and NITs for sure. Again, in the long run, whether you get into NIT Surathkal or IIT Bombay may not matter much because we had one of our students, very smart guy, made silly mistakes in the GATE exam, who got into NIT Surathkal. This is an older student from the AI course, he also prepared for GATE. So he got not such a good rank. He got into NIT Surathkal, He was always sad that he couldn't get into IITs, etc. But for the 2 years at NIT Surathkal, I think NIT Surathkal or Trichy, I forgot which one, he worked really hard. He was like a top programmer of his batch. He got into Amazon as a software developer. Now, what is the difference between him and somebody who went to IIT Bombay, who ended up at the same place? Because this guy is now working on machine learning to move to machine learning jobs. So at the end of the day, your hard work will matter in the long run. Nobody asks me where I studied now. If I go to a company interview, they say, what have you built in the last few years? Not where you have studied. Again, please don't look at your career as that one placement after your MTech or BTech. Look at your career from the longer horizon. Look at it as a 40-50 year journey. That is the most common mistake that youngsters make. Cool. So how much time should we give for a subject for revision, right? So again, remember, think about like this, right? Suppose if you have, let's say, 30 to 40 hours of content for a subject or video content, right? And let's assume you're spending about 40 to 50 hours to complete the whole thing. That's roughly like what, 20 days. Okay. Even if you take 2.5 hours, 20 days, let's assume you take to complete a whole subject. Spend about 4 to 5 hours, maybe 6 hours to revise everything. That's fairly possible. And revision through practice questions or revision through subject tests is a better idea, because then first revise your notes and then take the subject tests quickly, because that will give you a deeper understanding on what you really understood and what you did not understand. Okay, cool. So Anonymous is saying, is the course enough? Will any questions come from beyond the concepts you taught? So 95, even 97% of the questions should come from the course that we have taught. Every year there might be one odd question, right, which might be like a bouncer, right? Because GATE syllabus doesn't exactly tell you every topic. It tells broadly. It says code optimization. Like we can spend like at Indian Institute of Science, there was like a whole semester long course on just code optimization. So how deep do we go? That's a question, right? So the way we have created our content is not even 97, I would say 98%, 99% of the questions or marks will come from the syllabus that we have. There might be one odd question which might be a bouncer, which we may not have covered. That happens every now and then. Based on what we have missed, we'll always add new content next year to fix that bug. Okay, cool. Sounds good, folks. I think we have had a great session. And again, for the next session, all the sessions for C, data structures and algorithms will be publicly available just like this. Next time it is pointers and I think array of pointers, if I'm not wrong, or pointers to arrays, one of those topics. Just prepare that. Let's have some fun solving these pointer problems. I always make silly mistakes with that, so I will also revise and come better prepared. Hopefully I will avoid silly mistakes like most of you. See you soon. Bye-bye.